All right, welcome. The countdown is on. Let's have a look and see what some of these. Let's just get this all set up nicely for everybody. Okay, so in a few minutes' time, we're going to be live watching the Free League Lounge as they give us some new information about the second edition of the Alien role-playing game, as well as some other updates, which I'm excited about. So yeah, any questions, stick them in the chat. We'll be able to react to exactly what's being said and what that might mean for the game that we love in the future. Apparently we've got some models coming, we've got some new maps coming, we know there's a new cinematic scenario, we know they're reworking the stealth mechanic, and we know they want to turn it into a little bit more of a tabletop game, or they want to make it so you can play it more as a tabletop game. So they're looking at the Flight of the Nostromo, is that what that game's called? And they're going to try and, I think, sort of bridge the gap there between that and maybe some Warhammer stuff. Although obviously it's not going to be as survivable as Warhammer. I imagine it'll be quite simple. But we'll see. They've done Zone Wars, which is the not Zone Mortalis. Change code bit right. So we know that they've done Zone Wars, which is the Mutineer Zero. There we go. So Mutineer Zero board game. I don't know. I've not played it, but it looks like a board game with action figures, and it looks like they might be pivoting in that direction here as well. I don't know how it's going to go, but I know that there's plenty of appetite for stuff aliens related, especially after Romulus. So I think we need to go into this second edition with our eyes open, with our hearts open, ready to welcome whatever changes they bring. And here we go.
Welcome to the League Lounge. It's been a hot second since we did one of these, and welcome back Thomas Herenstam, founder of Free League. Hey, Thomas.
Hello. Thanks. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been since May, and we were talking about, I think back then we were talking about Blade Runner, but now we're gonna talk about Alien second edition coming out real soon to Kickstarter. Do you have a final actual date for the Kickstarter yet?
No, we don't. Still thinking about when is the best time to do it. Plan is, as we stated, in the fall. It could be early next year. It's actually not decided yet. And since Alien is also a license, there's all kinds of ins and outs to all things have to be approved and cleared and so on. So we don't have a date yet, but as we do have a date, of course.
So Kickstarter could be next year.
Yeah.
Could be later this fall or early next year.
That's news.
Okay. And I'll jump right into
It's a shame, given Romulus.
We have a short time today. So Alien First Edition came out 2018, if I remember correctly.
19, actually.
19. So what is the main difference between, you think, First Edition and now the Second Edition?
This is important.
Grimbark asks. And for whom is it? Anyway, the difference between the first and in which case, which edition should someone new buy? And tell us a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, I think we called it second edition. In hindsight, maybe that's not entirely accurate. We're actually considering changing. I mean, it's just going to be Alien the RPG when it's out. So what you actually call the edition is maybe not that important. But
I don't know.
it's more of an upgrade, more of an evolved edition than a complete new edition. I think that's important to state right off, and maybe I think that might have been a bit unclear at the start. Since we're not throwing out the old and launching a completely new game, it's very much the same game, only improved, better. We have learned quite a bit in those 5 years. There are things we have been wanting to do. I mean, we could have done just like smaller revisions, but we felt that there was enough things that we wanted to do with the game, so it warranted something more of a new edition, even though it's more of an evolved, update edition, nor more than a complete second edition. So I think that's it. All that said, I think the changes that we're doing, there's a bunch of them. It's more like many small changes than like huge ones. It means that we are doing, includes, we're adding a solo mode, which I think is perfect for Alien.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
People want that.
So that's something, talking to Sean Tonkin, who's like the master of solo modes, and he's done them for some other games.
Awesome.
Of ours.
That'll please a lot of people.
We're revising talents. We're expanding and revising stealth mode. Stealth mode is kind of the part of the game that's before combat. That's kind of where you kind of move from room to room in some ship or base, and stalking or being stalked by people or other things. That whole mini game it's already there in the first edition, but we're sort of developing that further.
Okay.
We're revising things.
I know
like
people struggle with that.
The panic rules that are, I think the core was pretty good, but there are things that need to be tweaked. We're revising things like ammunition, armor, explosions, zero gravity, lots of things that we're tweaking. We're adding support for playing with miniatures. It's not going to be mandatory. It's not like you have to play the game with miniatures, but we just had a lot of fun doing that ourselves, and we feel it's a good addition that we enjoy. So that will tie into the new maps and the new stealth mode, so you can actually play that as a kind of a mini game with miniatures if you do.
Okay, nice.
So you can play it complete Theory as well, but it does support that more. It's going to be more ships, weapons. We're looking into adding some things from the Alien Romulus film, some cool stuff from there without going
No
into
spoilers.
any spoilers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I haven't seen
Won't spoil any, but yeah, there was some cool stuff in there that we want to bring into the game, so we're doing that, I hope. Yeah, I mean, we're revising.
No changes to character creation just yet that we've heard of. No.
Many things.
The talents and the skills they're going to expand. They're going to look at the panic rolls as well. So it looks like it's going to get more depth and a bit more detail, which should be good.
So you would say that someone who knows the rules of the first edition would have a relatively easy time adapting to this new upgraded version.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that there are new interesting mini games for the stealth and panic. Could you expand a little bit on that? Still call it in asks.
I mean, stealth rules and panic, those are related, obviously. They're two separate things in a way. Stealth rules is where you have the mini game where you have the player characters moving through a space like a ship or a station or wherever, and you have some other party, be they other humans or xenomorphs, move around also stalking each other, and that is kind of a mini game where the GM
I always felt that it was a bit too much of a giveaway, the stealth stuff.
The screen. It's not just the GM deciding when things pop up. It's actually a hidden
I agree.
game that is taking place that you can.
I'd like to see more stuff around Mother, or for hacking, that type of stuff.
In this new system, you can also use the crawl spaces like air shafts and things, and actually move them on the map. So it's much more of a.
That's cool.
Use all of that environment in the stealth mode. Before that was a bit more underrated and it was not really developed. So you can really do.
Yeah, I like the stealth stuff and I like the chase stuff. The stuff I struggle with is that when you go into that stealth mode, then immediately the party know that something's around. And they almost shouldn't know that the thing is there, I think, sometimes.
Different. That's what happens when you face something truly horrible. You roll for panic. That is what we're changing there. Is that before in the first edition there were 2 tables. There's like 1 panic that you rolled on it in a couple of different situations. Either when you face something horrible, but also when you roll a face hugger on your stress die in a skill roll.
Yeah, like close combat. That was missing, I felt.
Result in some a bit range rolls sometimes that usually worked, but you had to kind of tweak them into the state. So to avoid getting results that maybe not always made sense, we're splitting it into 2 separate charts. There's that stress for skill rolls, and then there's a panic chart for when you face something truly horrible.
That's cool.
That is what we hope to do by having 2 separate charts and also making them bigger, is that you will have a more variety of panic results and effects, and also they will be more adapted to the situation, so you don't get results that
that's such a cool mechanic for the game. They need to. I like that they're expanding that and making it a bit more unique for the circumstances.
More details on the Kickstarter and what's the stretch goals, etc., etc. But I wanted to bring up a question here from GM Runs Game. Do you have a timeline for additional books, like specifically cinematic scenarios? I know you've said several times that it's going to be backwards compatible, so previously published cinematic.
Give us the new stuff. What's new?
Adventures will be possible to play, but yeah, do you?
I mean,
for those who,
I mean, in part of this Kickstarter, and that's actually what started the whole thing, is that we started working on a new cinematic adventure called Rapture Protocol.
Yeah.
And that's where we started, and that's the work that we did. It's written by Ethan Hicks, who's an RPG designer, and we started tinkering with that. And the whole idea with Rapture Protocol was to kind of go a little back to basics, a smaller scale.
Nice. Convention size.
That were very cool, but very large scale. So
I like that.
Time to kind of dial it back a little bit, go back to the core experience. And that's why we started developing stealth mode more, and the whole idea of using the maps in a different way, and that all came from there. So that cinematic adventure, Rapture Protocol, which I think is really cool. I won't talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it. But that is part of the Kickstarter. So that's coming at the same time as the new core rule kit, as well as the new starter set. So that's part of that.
That's awesome.
Beyond, of course, we'll still continue to support the line with further expansions after, but the Rapture Protocol is part of the Kickstarter.
Okay, cool.
Could you? I know you were talking about the fear mechanic, the new panic mode, but also the stealth mode. But like, there's also a squirm mode. Is that the same?
They said that they were hoping for fall, but they weren't sure. Because it's licensed, it could even be early next year, unfortunately.
The skirmish mode is
a bit of a shame.
It's not a skirmish base that's usually a term used for.
I want it for a convention in January. I don't know though.
Using this stealth mode, you can with miniatures, you can actually play the game as a skirmish miniatures game. Not really, not so you kind of use RPG rules to play a set piece using miniatures on the map, playing stealth mode and comp. So that, in that sense, it's a skirmish miniatures game if you want it to be. But it's still, of course, still RPG. But you can actually just play a scene like that, and that can be a fun night. We did it a couple of times here just for fun to test it out. But it actually works like a small game using miniatures. So that's what that means.
And is there going to be miniatures for previous scenario characters too, or?
Well, that's a good question.
The initial batch is going to be designed for Rapture Protocol, the player characters, key NPCs, and other things.
Miniatures are expensive, man.
But we also make them so
to
they're
make
usable for other homebrews and or whatever. But it's kind of the focus. So the idea is that going forward, we'll release new material and new miniature sets to go along with. And as part of that, it's possible that we'll also release the previous cinematics and miniatures to go.
Yeah, you should do that as a stretch goal, man.
Like a reprint maybe of Destroyer Worlds or something, we might release a miniature set to go along with that. So
Ah.
that's possible, but that's sort of later.
Later, yeah. Can you tell me anything about how the actual physical books, if they are going through any changes? Someone, Nick thinks
Yeah.
that they gets oily, and I can actually agree with that because I use a lot of moisturizer on my my hands.
Yeah. Actually, that is one of the things we are changing, and it'll be interesting to see how everybody feels about that. But we felt the first edition rule book is very cool. It's to
Yeah.
flip through. It's really works well, I think, as a inspirational book, as a coffee table style book, but is fairly it's perhaps not as super ideal to use as a reference guide at the table. So what we're doing actually in the new edition, we're actually doing a more, in a sense, a bit more cleaner layout maybe, with more like lighter pages with text on it in perhaps in a little bit more traditional way, a little bit more retro, a little bit like a old technical manual style rather. So we're going in that direction. We hope to be able to show spreads and from the new rulebook very soon, and that'll be cool to see what people feel about it. But that's the direction we're going in. So that means you wouldn't have the glossy black pages. New edition, at least not so many pages like that. So, yeah.
And speaking of maps, you recently, hi, bye.
Right, Oscar?
Okay, we've asked another question about the scenario layout
recently
because they could be a
released
bit
some teasers of the maps coming
weird.
up, but people are wondering if there will also be the old style sort of the black and greenish blueprint maps, or is this the new graphical angle you're gonna go with?
Maps, you mean?
Maps.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah, the maps are an interesting thing. The new style of maps that we planned is made for playing with miniatures. So that's why they're more detailed, and that's why they're not like this kind of old style CRT screen look, because that wouldn't really make sense with miniatures on so that's kind of the idea. We are tweaking the style of those maps. They're not finished, the ones that we showed the other week. We're still working with them in terms of maybe making them a bit more gritty, moody, but yeah, basically they are supposed to work with miniatures, so that's they don't look like a computer screen. That wouldn't really make sense. So, but also that said,
I think it's a balance,
we're
isn't it?
still using the other more CRT style computer screen blueprint style maps. They will
Because you
both
risk
go, and
going
we'll still use
to
them for overviews,
sort of
for
virtual
smaller
tabletop.
scenarios, for
You want it to be
basically
gritty.
the new
It's
style of maps is just
to do old films.
for bigger cinematics, specific locations that are designed. They use miniatures, but otherwise, for everything else, for like the overviews and other maps, that the blueprints is still will still be there.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about the setting. Anders Jansson, our good friend to Free League, he asks that the Alien TV show is going to take place on Earth. Do you guys have any ideas for Earthbound scenarios or classes for that?
Maybe at the moment, that's not something we're working on specifically. But down the line, maybe, yeah. But it's not part of what
Yeah,
we're
that'd be
doing
cool.
now for the new edition. We don't know that much about the new.
That with the
upcoming
pred.
show. We know some, but we're not, on the inside. We don't get every information, so we don't, So that's not part of the current work we're doing.
Do you guys have any? And this is my question based off of this. Do you have anything? Will this game or future games feature something that is? I mean, obviously, it's going to be pre-approved by the owners of Alien IP, but something that you feel like, or could you tease something that might not has ever been seen in any Alien universe before?
You mean from the new game?
Give us the tea.
From the game, like if there's anything like a new concept that you're like, this has not been done before, or do you?
Oh, there has. Look at that look. Look at that look.
Just asking that question.
No, I don't know. I mean, we're doing new things, I think, specifically in Rapture Protocol, the new adventure, definitely. We're trying to do things, definitely taking it to new levels and doing things that at least we have done before in the RPG, for sure. So that, I can't go into too much detail because that
Right.
will be pretty spoilery. But yeah, things like that.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the Kickstarter. Will you be offering a bundle as part of the Kickstarter?
Sure, yeah, there will definitely be bundles of all kinds, but not only bundles, because that's something, since we are offering a new core rulebook, a new starter set, and the Rapture Protocol adventure, and a miniature set. So there's like four main parts. It's also going to be so that you can choose whatever you want. If you're happy with your rulebook, you don't need to get it, you can just get the adventure. If you don't want the miniatures, just ignore the miniatures, get the rest. I mean, so it would be very much, open choice. So you can pick exactly the things you want and just ignore the stuff that you're not interested in. So that's kind of the idea.
That's consumer
So,
friendly. We
do
like
you have
that.
any updates on campaign play? You talked about the stress mechanics update, but any updates on
Yeah.
campaign play?
Yeah, absolutely. Just wanted to mention that, yeah, we do have a better microphone here, but I didn't bring the computer that I should have, so that's why I'm using these headphones instead. That's not ideal. So next time the sound will be better.
Fits the aesthetic, mate.
It's usually better than this. Yeah, it's what it is for now. Anyway, campaign play is something that we are expanding on also in the new
Okay.
rulebook. That we are adding more. There's like in the first edition, there's a campaign chapter where there are some random tables and tools for generating campaign play. We're expanding on those. So we're adding things there. Paul Elliott, who did the most of that work for first edition, is back expanding that for the new edition. We're also adding more locations. There's the Novgorod station in first edition. We're adding at least one more. That's the idea. We're looking at the possibility of adding like a mini campaign area, a sector of space that we
That'd be cool.
describe a bit more closely. That you don't have
Yeah,
the
that'd be
huge
cool,
star
like a
map,
playground.
but not only the huge star map, you also have like one part of space that a couple of systems, a sector that is described in a little bit more detail to make it more accessible and useful as a campaign setting. So that's all of that is kind of to enhance campaign play.
Will you, speaking of, we have people asking about virtual tabletop. Virtual tabletop. Will you guys have support for that?
Yeah, that's the idea. We hope so.
Okay.
That's what we want to do. Hopefully, we'll add equal support to all of them, or at least the main ones that we already work with. That's what we want to do, and that includes Alchemy, Foundry, Roll20,
Nice.
and the others. Fantasy Grounds also. I mean, the hope that is all of that is not entirely clear yet. But that's kind of the idea, that you'll be able to add on the VTT that you want, and it will be the same for all VTTs, no matter which is. So you're not forced to go one with one. You can get exactly the VTT that you prefer.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to develop a game of this magnitude, especially for something that's so big, and like everyone has like a sort of reference to Alien and knows how they, it has a huge IP, and so I was just wondering where do you even start? Like, I know you work with people like Andrew Gaska.
Yeah.
Will he continue, for example?
Yeah.
People are wondering.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's definitely a major contributor to the game because we're not changing the setting. I mean, all of that setting material. The new edition is mainly a rules update and the new adventure. That are the main things. We are a little bit new campaign material, like I mentioned, from Paul Elliott, but that's sort of more on the procedural side. So we're not. That's why, and Drew's setting work is still there. So that's definitely going to be still remain a big part of it, and that has been a huge part of the game, obviously, to bring all of that lore, canon stuff that he knows so well. So that's not going away at all. So, but yeah, it is an interesting thing to work with something like Alien, obviously, because the game has a large community. I mean, of course, the films are iconic; they're classics. So it is a bit daunting sometimes to work with it, but also a lot of fun. I think
It
we
should be
thought
fun.
going into the edition that it would be kind of
the end
easier
of the
the
day, there's
second
been
time around, but actually
maybe
it turns out to
this is quite a
maybe be
popular
harder
opinion actually. There's been
because
plenty
it's
of
already
mistakes that have
there.
happened
So
in the
now we have to
franchise.
kind of
People still love
elevate
it,
it
so
another level. First
think
time it
most
was
people would
new
rather
and
you had a
fresh, and
go
everybody was like, "Ooh, this is a new thing." But now
than
it's
not
now there
have
are
a go.
expectations. So
Trying
we
to
have to
introduce
meet
something
them.
new.
But it's all good. It's part of the
Do you know
job.
what I mean?
So.
Do you think you'll have an cinematic adventure specifically for conventions like Sinking Tower
Come
for
on.
Dragon King?
This
Yeah,
is what we need to
hopefully we can do that. I think we have already some adventures. We have the League of Free Agents, the organized play
yeah,
program,
but
and I
they're
think
not-
there actually are some Alien adventures available there to play already.
There are, but
They were
they
not,
could
if
have
you
a bit
mean
more
as the
about
Sinking
them.
Tower we did for Free RPG Day that were like printed and things. We might do that for Alien. I'd like to do that. So
yeah, 100% you
it's
should.
mostly a matter of
You
getting all
absolutely
that
should.
work done and getting it approved and so on. But yeah, it's definitely on our mind.
Ooh,
Yeah.
on
So
our mind.
we've
Next
now
year's free
covered
RPG
most
day.
questions. There's
Alien.
a couple of like specifically,
first.
people want to hear more about the especially specifics on the new panic mode, etc. But you've talked about that, and so a soundtrack. People are wondering, will there be a new soundtrack specifically for Alien?
I
that'd be
don't
cool.
think so. I mean, we have done it
Oh,
for
that's
other
a shame.
games. It is a bit more tricky for licensed games because licenses are limited in scope, and
Yeah.
our license covers tabletop RPGs. So that means it doesn't cover music. So that means it's probably not within the scope of our license to produce
That's
RPG
understandable.
music. But
It's a shame,
it'd be
but it's
cool,
understandable.
but
Come on,
probably
Warner.
not. But it'd be cool.
Come on, Warner. Let
Okay.
the guys play.
Do you have anything else you would like to talk about? Do you feel like we haven't brushed on yet? There's a lot of questions, but they're very similar to like people want more details specifically on how the game's gonna be played and how it's gonna work. You mentioned that there's gonna be new solo play, which is really cool. Do you know when there will? You said the Kickstarter might be later this fall, but also in the beginning of next year. But do you know when there will be more info that people can?
Hopefully soon. I mean, I think in the next couple of weeks we should be able to show more. We really want to show some more stuff, so it's a matter of getting done and then getting it approved and we can show it. That's kind of the way it goes, and that takes time. Mostly of the time it
All right,
takes
we'll
our
push him.
customers.
I've asked him to show us something. We'll see
Then
what he
it'll
says.
Go through all the channels, which is fine. That means it takes a little bit of time. But that said, the next couple of weeks, the coming month, I definitely think we'll be able to show more stuff from the game. So hopefully that won't be too long.
Do you have any other free league news, by the way? People have been wondering about Vaesen, Coriolis second edition.
What do you want?
Well, mostly if there's any news updates on any of them. Do you?
Coriolis is the new edition of Coriolis is being close. Play testing again next week. Costa just left. He's sort of running that. So
Nice.
that's. Otherwise, I would have asked him. It's not that far off. Vaesen, we have some pretty cool stuff for Vaesen. We have like 2 books coming.
Okay, cool.
One that I'm very much involved in, another one that is done by another team, but it's both cool. We'll see exactly when and how and all of that, but at least one of them we should be able to show.
Walking Dead expansion. That's a good shout.
Well, in the coming month, probably around mid-October or something, there'll be things we'll be able to show that at one, maybe both books. We'll see how exactly what happens on that front. Vaesen is a game that were very dear to us and a lot of fun to work with. So
it's the best. I mean,
have...
it's the best game ever. How about how about Mutant Year Zero?
Yes, it's there. It's a big thing. It's like the first game that we did internationally, and of course, very part of the DNA of Free. So we are working on. We are, planning. Again, probably we're getting close to the point of a new edition for that game. We'd be careful not to do too many new editions, though. But the Mutant Year has been around for a decade. So I think it's about time. So that's kind of where we're at. But we want to be careful and do it in the right way and make sure So that's why we're taking our time, but that's kind of the idea, because it feels like that the kind of scope, the arc that we did, the 4 corps and everything, and now end with Ad Astra earlier this year, we feel like now we kind of ended that whole arc, and it's time for like the next chapter for Mutant Year Zero. So that's a big step, and that's why we're taking.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's understandable.
All right. Well, I mean, so the long story short is that you guys are very busy.
Yeah,
and will be. Great. Well, I think
That's pretty good.
We
Pretty good
should
update.
wrap up now because I think you should get back to figuring out how to release this Kickstarter so we can all
Yeah,
Yeah.
do
at
that.
it. But
Also, you see one thing here. There's a question on
Yeah.
the bonus adventure from the Mythic Britain Kickstarter for Vaesen, and that's
Oh.
entirely a good question. That is actually, we'll get that out. Yeah, before we present the next. So that, if things go, we should be able to share that with the backers of the previous Vaesen Kickstarter a couple of years ago. It's taken some time.
That is some time.
The next,
Damn.
well, within a month.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So that
That's
shouldn't
good.
need to wait
Yeah.
much longer for that one.
and more videos coming from Ellie explaining how RPGs work.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're working on it. I mean, we want to do more, but it's great if you guys let us know what you need explaining, and I'll do some explaining.
Because you
That when
covered,
I-
I mean, you covered some cool Dragonbane stuff, so it's time to do some videos for other games. But then we have a few of them, so we'll have to choose which one. So yeah,
Yeah.
any input on, we'd be happy to listen.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, on that note, back to work, Taffy
Yeah.
said.
Yes.
And as
That is-
always,
Okay.
this was a pleasure talking to you, and we'll see you guys real soon. Especially, I mean, there's a lot of news coming out this fall,
Yeah.
and
And it will
So-
better sound next time, promise.
oh yeah. I didn't want to say anything, but it's good. It's not that bad. It's just
Alright.
it's could be better.
It could
All
be
right.
better. Yeah.
Not bad.
Thomas,
Not bad.
You're the best. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we got some good news there. So we got some good news and some not so good news, I suppose. So the Kickstarter could be as late as early next year. So realistically, the time you're going to start getting that stuff through is going to be summer of next year. Oh, that is
Amazon, home to unmissable offers.
no, thank you. We don't need that. We got that the minis are going to be optional, and the map's going to be adapted for those minis. We found out that there's going to be some new skills and talents, and they're going to be expanded as well for a bit more customization, as well as there being expanded stealth rules and mini games throughout the system. More work on campaigns. No soundtrack, unfortunately, but that's understandable with the license. And the new Rapture Protocol cinematic campaign being written for a shorter gameplay, basically. So being written, hopefully that's going to be convention size. I've got some conventions coming up that I'd like to run that out, as well as they said some of the agents of the Free League scenarios are convention friendly. They are convention friendly. They're probably a little detail thin, I think probably some of the stories aren't bad, but they're very sort of cookie cutter stories, and I just think you could probably do some more interesting stuff. We've run chariots at conventions and that works pretty well, although it could obviously you have to cut some stuff out to run chariots in 4 hours, but if you push the pace then it can be really, really fun. But you are really working as a GM to make sure that story reaches its conclusion, whether that's positive or negative depending on the players. But yeah, that was the Free Lounge, the fall update from Free League Publishing, covering some nice new information on the Aliens. They're saying maybe it isn't a second edition, the Alien role-playing game expansion, reimagining, which we should hear some more about between now and the end of the year, and the Kickstarter will be either by the end of the year or the start of next year, depending on what Warner Brothers are saying. Awesome. Thanks for watching. If you liked, please like the video. if there's loads more Aliens content on my channel, so please subscribe. There's lots of free league content on there as well, lots of Dragonbane stuff on there. Comment what you want to see next. I'm working on another Dragonbane scenario review at the moment, which I'll be running shortly so I can get it up to you. That's by a really fun creator with some beautiful artwork in there. I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you guys, and that's digital as well as physical. And then we've got hopefully some actual plays coming up across on some other channels, which I'll be sharing with you as and when those details all come through. If you're interested in Vampire the Masquerade, check out Cybernation Uncensored, where we've just wrapped up a 6-session chronicle. I play Morgan there. That's over on their YouTube channel. It's available on podcast apps everywhere as well, so start checking that out. It's fun, it's funny, it's serious, and at the end it gets pretty bloody. Anyway, we'll leave that there until next time. Take it easy. Bye.